I'm Pat Fraley, and those were a few of the characters I carry around in my hip pocket.
This is the radio station you need to be listening to, lad.
Between exercises, I'll slip in critical information.
104.4 FM, radio station Residence FM.
And other feats of insanity and joy.
Inspector Gadget. Inspector Gadget.
Well, look at this! Appears you got here just in the nick of time. What does that make us? Big damn heroes, sir. Ain't we just?
As Bertrand Russell once said, the only thing that will redeem mankind is cooperation. I think we can all appreciate the relevance of that now.
What's that on the back of a beer mat?
Yeah, it was Guinness Extra Cold.
I won't say anything.
Thanks.
Black Dynamite, I want to be just like you.
Don't you ever say that, you dig? Don't you ever say you want to be like me? Now you could be a doctor or a lawyer or the president of the United States, but did you ever say you want to be like Black Dynamite? Now can you dig it?
Okay.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Michael Burhan, of course, subbing for Marcus Aco here on Shoot the Breeze on Resonance 104.4 FM. And, of course, my co-host, the awesome, the humbling, and the most exciting man on the planet.
Yeah, thanks. Hi, I'm David Campbell. I'm here on Resonance 104.4, Shoot the Breeze. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Yeah, nice to have you back.
Oh, yeah. It's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As soon as Marcus gave me that text, I was like, yes, I'll be there with bells on. How are you doing yourself, David?
Not too bad. Just been busy and trying to work out what my top 5 this week is going to be. And top 5 this week is what?
It's the top 5 jobs in movies, if I believe.
Unique jobs
in
movies.
Yeah. It's kind of a one to wrap your tongue around, I think. You know.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult, this one, actually, to be quite honest. It's supposed to be unique anyway.
Yeah, we've kind of cheated because we're going to be using movies and television.
Well, I've just got movies. I just thought, yeah, okay, I'll just leave the movies. Okay, we have a guest.
Yes.
Hello.
And who are you?
My name's Caitlin, and I run a business called The Authentic Project, which is for freelancers, which is very apt for your professions in film.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to be coming back to you. So,
yes. Shall we start by going through what we've watched recently? Shall we? We'll do a nice little round robin on that. I've recently watched a TV show on Netflix featuring Matthew Broderick. If you don't know him, is basically Ferris Bueller Days Off and the Godzilla movie that no one likes to talk about. It's a TV show called Daybreakers, and he plays the principal in this film, and you've got like a whole cast of characters. That happens when there's an apocalyptic virus that affects every adult but doesn't affect children and turns the adults into rather children-eating cannibals. It's really really interesting.
Okay.
Tasty.
Yes. What have I watched? It's an old series from New Zealand called The Almighty Johnsons, and I watched
that. I think.
Yeah, I watched it when it first came out. Kind of, someone recorded it for me, so I was able to watch it. Now I'm able to watch it properly. It's on, if you've got it, Pluto TV, which is available on Amazon and on Roku as well. And basically, it's a series about these Norse gods who've been basically thrown out of Norway, that wherever they came from, Scandinavia or wherever, Denmark, and they've transported themselves over to New Zealand, and it's about their lives. And basically one of the Norse gods, Odin, has to find his soulmate, Frigg.
Okay.
Or they all die.
Wow.
So, if he dies before he finds her, all of them die.
Does he have to mate with her, or they all die, or do they have to just be in the same room?
he has to marry her.
Oh, he has to marry her.
Yes.
Those
yes.
stakes.
Yes, those kind of stakes. Mate with her. Good gosh.
I don't know. This is how these weird TV shows usually have a setup.
Yeah, okay, but anyway, it's an entertaining series. Although I'm kind of like early part in, and I'm just I'm just remembering it, and it's like. New Zealand is as grey and miserable as this country is sometimes, and that's good to see because you always think of New Zealand and Australia as being sunny.
It's also very
and,
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yes.
and also, what is it? Oh yes, they all drink a lot of beer. There's
As you do.
constantly got a tin in their hand.
Nothing else to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of my friends from uni would love that. Just like total beer drinkers.
Gosh.
Chilled out.
What about yourself?
I am absolutely loving, I might be late to the scene, but This Is Us, which is on Amazon Prime. And it's massive in the US, but it hasn't quite come over here yet.
Are you on the first season?
Second season.
Yes.
Second season.
So you're up to the big dramatic kind
Everything,
of. Yes.
yeah. It's one of the best things I've ever watched. It's a masterclass in acting and the characters and the story and how intricate everything is, but also how normal everything is.
Yeah.
How it's just the everyday emotions which humans go through, which you can associate with. And I just cry at every single episode.
The one thing I do love about that show is the fact they had this big climax that happens at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then they build up to it for the first 2 seasons to figure out how that climax actually happens.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting.
It is.
And it's, again, as you said, it's a masterclass in storytelling.
It is.
So where do you see that program?
It's on Amazon Prime
Yeah.
at the moment. You can get it as part of your Prime package. So anybody who's basically got like a Amazon Prime delivery service attached to their Amazon Prime account, if you put it on an Amazon Fire TV or your
Computer.
pads or
Yeah.
anything,
Anywhere.
anything that carries like any device that carries an app.
Amazon account.
Yeah, you just pop the account on there, and boom, you get to watch loads of free shows. And quick plug, you can also watch my movie A Long Time Gone on there as
very
well.
nice.
Oh, okay.
Beyond that.
So this is not an advert for Amazon. I just
We are not
hasten to
being
add,
paid.
yeah, this is not. We're just letting you know where you can find some.
Yes, you can.
movies. So anyway, well, it's time for film TV. Do you not think?
It is. Let's do
Okay.
the news.
And we're back.
Yes, we've got a little bit of short bit of news today. There's a couple of things we're touching on, and I do apologise to those who don't like hearing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe and stuff like that. Well, we're going to be talking about that kind of quickly. The first is we've got Disney. They have basically decided to rescind a deal that Fox had with small theatres in order to take old movies that they had and allow them to use the copyright for the said movies in order to get patrons to their theatres.
So, for instance, give us an example.
The movie Fight Club, for instance.
Right. Okay.
The deal would go where you would, because you have a small theatre, say that you've got David's Theatre out in
Okay.
the middle of nowhere, and you're deciding, hey, I want to get 400 patrons in it, and I want to use a movie called Fight Club, for instance, and you want to lease it from Fox. Fox had a deal where they would give it to you for the cheap. They would send you the original 34mm print. You get to like show it to your friends and family, whoever you want, and sell the tickets. They get like a small little bit, I think it's like a 5% commission from it. They won't get too much. Disney have decided, nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to rescind all those deals, and we're taking all those movies and we're locking them up away in our Disney vaults. So, ha ha, ha ha ha, middle finger, ha ha.
Did they say why they were doing this?
At first, they basically stated they weren't doing this. Then it turns out that they are doing this, and they haven't actually specified why. Now, an instance that happened recently was a gentleman by the name of Derek Rees. He was the general manager of the historic Little Theatre in Rochester, New York. He was expecting a Monday night crowd for a screening of David Fincher's satire Fight Club. It basically was produced, as we know, by 20th Century Fox, and before the screening, he contacted the studio representative to confirm the digital version of the movie was on its way, but the response he got surprised him. The studio said they were no longer licensed to sold films to commercial theatres, and the screening was cancelled. Rees had to hang up a sign in the front of the theatre, which opened in 1929 to notify his patrons. We're not Regal, we're not AMC, Reese said on the phone earlier in the week, "We're just one theatre at Rochester trying to play Fight Club." What changed, however, was clear. Fox and the movies in its storied library of motion pictures is now part of Walt Disney Co., which has long placed tight restrictions on when and how cinemas can screen their older titles. They have a long-standing policy to not allow first-run theatres or commercial discount cinemas to screen movies from its library, whether if it's an animated classic such as Lady and the Tramp, or more adult-orientated films such as The Sixth Sense. It now applies to Fox's vast catalogue, according to exhibition sources as well, and basically stating they were not authorised to comment. And the exception that these people said is the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which is a mainstay to midnight audiences and participation. I don't know how they got the wiggle room around that, but that's the only one that these respiratory theatres are allowed to actually play. When it comes to any of other Fox films, such as Die Hard, any of their films, you name it, they can't play them because Disney are saying no.
Such a shame.
Yeah.
You know what? I think they would get away with saying no to all those other ones. People would just moan about it and what have you. If they ever turn around and said to people, you can't have Rocky Horror Picture Show, there will be riots in the streets because there's so many people who go.
Die-hard fans, aren't they? Dress up and everything.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, is that only applicable in the States, though?
No, it's applicable everywhere. Basically, Disney has a tight hold and restriction. That we knew something like this was going to happen because now Disney has a vast monopoly. So they own Marvel, they own Lucasfilms, and they now own Fox, which means they own practically, I would say, about a 70% market share. So it's bad. Very, very bad. But hopefully, maybe with enough noise, they will rescind that. But we'll see. In other news, and again, I do apologise for those who don't like Marvel. Actually, you might like this one. Francis Ford Coppola has clarified recent statements when he had criticisms about Marvel movies, which created a major blowback on superhero movie fans over the last decade. Superhero movies have become the multi-billion industry, multi-billions, should I say. And Marvel DC releases are regular. He basically has stated that he thinks that these movies are tired, that they're not movies at all, they're not storytelling movies. He said that basically the MCU itself wasn't cinema. And the condemnation has come from vast fans around the world saying that, no, that's not true. You've had Marvel actors such as Robert Downey Jr. Clarifying it, stating that it's an opinion. He can have an opinion, but he doesn't feel that what he stated or what Scorsese has stated is correct. And you know what? If you guys want to comment, leave a comment on the Facebook page. Let us know your feelings if you think that he's correct or if you feel that he's wrong. I think that movies are movies. It's storytelling. You could tell these movies are making a lot of money, but they are using a lot more of television narratives because it's not just one movie anymore. They're building an entire universe. So you've got like one movie leads into a next movie to another movie, and these movies are there to tell stories and build kind of up to a bigger story. So of course there's room for them. It's the same as anything. I remember when in the 90s horror movies used to be said that they weren't cinema because they were cheap to make. They were B-movie box office. No one knew most of the actors who were in them.
You're talking about the cheap slasher horror movies.
Yeah,
where a lot
but
of
they
people
made a lot of money for the studios.
Yeah, well, yeah, a lot of people came out of them with careers, to be quite honest.
Exactly.
You know, my take on that, to be quite honest, is there is a lot to what he said, which is true, but there is something missing as well. Yes, it is a story, and it's an entertainment thing. The one thing I criticise those movies for, and I don't think anyone will disagree with me on this, is that where they took the stories from the source material, the source material was basically embedded in a storyline which they did not reflect on screen. So they will take a story, say for instance, the character of Rogue in X-Men.
Yeah.
Okay. Rogue in X-Men was a completely different character. She was in her 30s when she joined the X-Men.
Yes.
And there was a different reason for her joining the X-Men. She had fought Binary, who is now, was called Captain Marvel. She'd taken all her powers and she was bothered by it. You didn't see any of that in there. So you lost out as well. But also the whole thing about the comics and everything about the comics themselves reflected what was going on in the day it was set in the time it was set in. So it was set in, that particular story arc was in the 80s, so therefore it was set firmly in the 80s and reflected everything that was going on in the 80s, all the passions, the storylines, all the news headlines, everything that was going on in the 80s was reflected in those comics. And you take them out and plonk them into a film, you can't do that, and you just haven't got the time to do that.
Yeah.
So you lose it, if you see what I mean. So yeah, on that score, I can see where he's coming from, because he says, it's a story, blah, 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 but it doesn't make, it's not coherent as far as he's concerned.
But at the same level, I think it's also the fact that we're at a different time now. You don't need a leading actor to make these movies anymore. You can use any old person off the street, as long as they have some, acting experience and can basically work on something and put them in there, and people will go and see it.
Okay, I agree with that, to be quite honest. But you know what? At the end of the day, they're making stars of those actors.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's basically, the way I see it is, it's $1 billion industry. It's making a heck of a lot of money, and he can have that kind of opinion. But I think it's just more being from one age of kind of cinema to another, and he's not understanding what this is. So he's like, "What is this?"
It's for a different generation, and he's
Pretty
not
much.
there,
And he's not of that mind.
I mean, what you said though, Chris Evans, which character does he play?
He played Captain America.
But which other character did he play?
He also played Johnny Storm, the Human Torch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people would not remember that, if you see what I mean. And he was actually in the first iteration of Fantastic Four, which was the best iteration, because the sequel, or the reboot, was crap.
Oh yeah, that was terrible. Fan for stick. We don't need to go. Well, let's ask our guest as well. What do you think of those statements? Do you believe that there's room for like these types of movies, and also cinema as someone like Francis Ford Coppola would see it? Or do you feel like these kind of movies are overrunning cinema and kind of ruining it?
Wouldn't say ruining it, but I do think it's riding a wave of, I'm just going to get into this market now. We know we're going to have a lot of people come, guaranteed comic fans, guaranteed mega Marvel fans who are going to come along. So it is a big money-making thing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But saying that, some of the films are brilliant.
Yeah.
But some of them are very hit and miss, from my opinion.
Oh no, I agree with it. There's been some where I've just been sitting there going, really? Okay.
Yeah. But people go and see it.
Captain Marvel. I loved what they were trying to do with it. I felt like it was a good movie, but it really was paint by the numbers Marvel. It was literally like, you could put that up against Iron Man 1 and it's the same movie.
Yeah. But people will see it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
People go and see it. But I definitely think it's a different time, and it will, like you said, have a different audience completely.
Definitely.
It's not the avid kind of supporters from back in the day.
And the one thing we have to give it its due as well is that it has rejuvenated cinema. Like, before these movies came about, cinema numbers were going down, ticket sales were going down. It was getting to the point where George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were stating that cinema was going to die because we had digital streaming. People didn't really need to leave home to do anything. But when these movies came along, it kind of built a resurgence of ticket sales to the point where everyone and their mum are copying this now. Like, you had Universal with their really bad Dark Universe, which we could do a whole show on.
Actually, to be quite honest, Universal have got it wrapped up when it comes to the TV show, TV shows. When it comes to the TV series, Marvel have just got one series that's working.
Yeah.
Universal have got them all, but when it comes to the movies,
when they tried to do the whole monster movie thing, a lot of that went down. There was a documentary I watched on that about how the reason why it tanked, but this show's not long enough. DC and all the other kind of companies, they're trying to ride the same wave and do like these universes of characters and build as much as they can to kind of mirror what Marvel's doing. So they've kind of built something rather unique. So it's interesting to see as something that, if you ever want to look at it as a case study, but at the same time, as someone who's a patron of the arts and who's a film buff pretty much like yourselves. I look at it and think to myself, okay, when is the relative proverbial pin going to drop on this, and it's going to become to the point where it will get stale. We never know. It may never do. But at the same time, I just feel like sometimes we just need to, when you're someone who's dabbled in filmmaking, you've got to look at it and say, maybe we should just ride this wave.
I get the feeling that it's kind of like coming to that end now because the driving force behind the Marvel films, the one who tied it all together, has passed away now. And he made sure, I mean, he had to sell some of the titles, X-Men and Spider-Man, to keep Marvel going. But when it came to getting all those other movies done, he made sure that there was a seamless as possible transition between all of them.
Oh no, that person still exists. That's Kevin Feige.
No, I'm talking about
Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
Yeah, Stan created those properties.
Yeah.
But mostly all he did in the cinematic universe was a cameo.
No.
He says, but that's not true.
No. He actually made sure, especially at the beginning, that they actually followed a type because remember they weren't all Disney at that point.
Yeah, but it was Kevin Feige that basically
when he took it over.
Yeah, he put the timelines together, and he's the reason why it all ties together. But at the same time, it's interesting, and now we're kind of at the point where we're at a lull because the whole big Avengers movie happened. And now they've got a huge rebuilding phase because they've lost a lot of their core characters.
Yes.
So it is interesting to see if they can maintain the wave or if it basically ends up just going. We'll see. Maybe, if Francis Ford Coppola and Scorsese are right and, they can dance on Marvel's grave. If not, then there's nothing else they can say.
I'm going to be really cynical here because they've cleared out all their big stars that they've gotten. They've got rid of all their big stars, and they've got to start again now with a whole batch of cheaper stars.
Well, they've got Tom Holland, who's Spider-Man's still there. So yeah, for those who don't know, he's back. They managed to get a deal together. He's still there. I believe they've got Ant-Man, they've got the Incredible Hulk, and they also got Thor. So we'll see. And again,
Ant-Man.
We'll see.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And a big shout out to Paul Rudd. He's got a TV show on Netflix at the moment called Living with Myself. That's actually a really good show. Cheap plug for that.
Are you watching that, Caitlin?
I'm not, but I've seen it on Netflix advertised.
Yeah,
it's
good. It is really,
Okay.
really good. And he plays off himself very, very well. That sounds really weird.
Okay. Right, time for the spotlight. And we're back.
Hello.
Yes, we are with our special guest here. So tell us about yourself and tell us about what you do, because our audience won't know. They want to grasp themselves, and we give our guests a bit of a time to explain what they do, and then we'll pile on the questions a little bit and give you a bit of the kind of the what do they call it, the lamp treatment, interrogate you a little bit.
Well, my name's Caitlin, and I run a business called The Authentic Project. I love that. And it is a company which is dedicated to helping creatives and freelancers thrive in the really uncertain land of freelancing. So we are coming from an angle of honest and kind of no BS feedback to people. It's an online platform and events predominantly, which offers everything from interviews, articles, fitness tips, how to stay mentally focused as a freelancer, how to stay mentally motivated, how to generally survive day-to-day life as a freelancer.
Yeah,
because it's tough.
It is very, very. Speaking as a freelancer myself.
Yes,
so tell us pretty much about what is it that you do to kind of help those freelancers go through that process? Because being a freelancer myself, I'm a freelance actor. And when we go through this process, landing jobs are hard, can be painstaking. When you go to auditions and you come out of auditions, you don't land the part, you feel emotionally, physically drained half the time. What is it that you guys do to kind of help guys like me kind of cope through?
I can relate to that. I trained as an actor as well, and it came from that background. Our online platform, so it's theauthenticproject.co.uk, offers a load of people who want to write for us. We have resident writers writing about their tips and their tricks and how to make it work for them. So it's a place you go online where if you're feeling a bit rubbish, like you said, or a bit down or a bit had the 5th rejection of the day and you're feeling pretty awful, you can go and you can hear other freelancers talk, because there's a big taboo for some reason in freelance world where people don't talk.
They don't. I find, especially when it comes to this industry as well, we don't talk about our experiences as much, and it can harm us in some ways and hinder us, because you get a lot of do's and don'ts. Like it's one of those industries where there's no textbook on how to actually do it. You have to kind of learn from every audition or learn from every situation that you're in. So in terms of your platform, do you guys like help people to gain those experiences by listening to others tell their stories?
Yes, we do. So we run events. We have an event next Wednesday, actually, which is on mental health and the freelance life. Oh. So it was very apt for now. It came about because of that lack of conversation between freelancers in general. When everyone's asked, how are you doing? They go, yeah, I'm fine. Everything's good. Everything's fine. No one is ever really good or really bad. Everyone is just in a safe kind of mid-ground of being fine.
Or more just, I want to yeet myself off a cliff.
There we go. But knowing you're not alone in that feeling.
Yes, I've talked to many an actor who's been like, that audition went really bad. I want to yeet.
So true.
Oh, I'm so young and hip. But yeah, so you're basically getting this event together to talk about mental health. So have you got like guest speakers and
we have a brilliant panel lined up. I have a nice list here.
Ooh.
Yes. We have 4
That's
people
what we
on our
like,
panel.
someone who comes in prepared.
Yes, of course. We have brilliant Amy Keane, who is an author, and she wrote a brilliant Amazon bestseller called The Girl Who Gave 0 Fs, which is an incredible story for young women and children. It's kind of an adult's book for children, in a way. We have Kush Kanodia, who is an MBE, and he is a social entrepreneur and a disability systems leader. I know, he's very incredible. He held the torch for the Paralympics in 2012.
Oh, wow.
Greg Martin, he's a freelance graphic designer and an artist, and he works under the name 20 Pegs. And then we have Emmy Brummer, who is a women's psychotherapist and founder of the Recover Clinic in the UK. So a broad range of people coming to talk about how they stay mentally healthy as a freelancer or as a creative in general.
So as a creative yourself, what kind of triggered you to kind of put this all together? Like, what was the one experience that you came out and that made you sit there and think, you know what? I need to do something.
Do you know what? It was, like you said, a lot of rejection from acting and a lot of lack of communication and talking. And I started to talk to people about how I was feeling and having wobbles every few weeks about what the hell am I doing with my life? I don't know what I'm doing. And then you can relate. There we go. And then talking to people about that, and they would be like, "Oh my God, I feel the same." And then as soon as you feel heard and understood, it's almost more normal. It's not a whole massive thing anymore. So I wanted to create a place and a platform where every emotion, every wobble you feel is completely normal, and everyone can help each other out in that aspect, and everyone can offer advice, support, hear how other people deal with these, because I think identification is the most healing thing.
Yes.
In that aspect.
I find so as well. Like when I've always said this to people when they come from drama school. No drama school ever gives you the tools to go out to that kind of big, wide auditioning world and say, right, here you go. This is what you need to do. Go and do it. And it's the weirdest thing, because I've been kind of a mentor of sorts recently, because I've had upcoming actors go, how do you do this? How are you finding work? What are you doing? How do you do this without an agent? And you're just like,
I don't know.
Oh, I can. I'll give you a list, and it's gotten to the point where you're trying. A lot of people are trying, but there's no way. There's no single way. You know, Some say networking is usually key. Others say that, if you go to certain websites and find yourself there. Others say that you can't talk about your experiences because if you do, then it will pigeonhole you or it will kind of shun you from the industry. And there's never, ever been a set way to kind of build upon that. And as you said, you've had a lot of anxiety yourself about the situation. Yeah. So it's really empowering to kind of have something like this for people, especially, well, as I said, people in my field, because we do have that situation. And I think the biggest problem in this industry is there's so many things going on at the same time, but there's also people who come into the industry who, how can I say, who will offer you certain services like I've dealt with a lot of commercial agents where they have like 400 faces on their book and you're sitting there going, why aren't I getting a job? And then you've got some dude who looks exactly like you for some reason getting all the work but never lands an audition, and you're like, why don't you pick me?
Exactly.
And it's kind of like being in in the geeky kid in softball practice where they're trying to, oh no, you're going to get picked last. And you're trying to figure out what it is you can do and how you're supposed to deal with all these things, plus the huge mental health issues that are going on at the moment. Are you guys putting on more of these events after this one, or is this kind of the premier event for you? Is it the tester that you're having to see how this does before you take this further, or is this kind of a thing that you're doing on the regular?
So this is actually our third event.
Ooh.
Our last two have been really successful, and it's something we want to do a lot more of, and also spread throughout the UK because it's so essential. And it's
very much.
So much. I think it's the lack of honesty and the lack of just genuine how it really is.
Yes.
Like, I know a lot of freelancers and creators end up working way more than people who work a 9 to 5 because they're terrified about never not working because the money will never come. And and that kind of goes round and round until they burn out. And it's for people to realise it's okay to take a break. You need to take a break. You need to look after yourself. But people who work for themselves don't feel that or know that.
No.
And it's terrifying sometimes.
Yeah, my thing recently was you've got to train.
Oh, God.
Even if you went to drama school, you've got to train.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got to learn all these new things.
Right.
You've got to learn mocap. You've got to have gun training. You've got to do all this stuff that you're supposed to be trained in when you're in the studio and when you're hired for a certain movie. But it's no, you've got to do it because you've got to be more eligible. You've got to take acting classes, even though you know how to act. And it's just like...
That's it.
A million different things at once. And then you get to the point where you're so burnt out and you're so drained and you just want to stay at home, hold under the covers and just hope that everything blows over.
That's right. I mean, to be honest, it's this year really, regarding acting, I realised that there was so much of that kind of wobbles and I don't know what's happening and waiting for someone else to give me an opportunity.
Yes.
That I decided, do you know what? Doing something which benefits others and benefits me as well, because I'm learning from others and meeting brilliant people, is way more fulfilling than waiting around for someone to be like, I give you permission to put on that wig and dance. That kind of thing. And you're like, thank you so much. And there's this thing around the acting world that everyone like bows down to casting directors, everything.
Yes.
So there's this lack of self-belief in all actors, really.
Yeah, I do agree on that. I feel like when you come into the industry, it's like being I'd kind of use a metaphor as it's being the same as a child. Like as a child, you come in, you've got this hopefulness, a big smile on your face, and this childlike youthfulness. And then eventually, as you grow into an adult, life beats you up over time to the point where you're just like this angsty-ridden adult. And it's the same when you come into the industry. You're like, oh, like I'm totally believed. I'm trained in all these things. Someone's going to hire me. And then eventually it just goes down and down and down to the point where you're like, okay, can someone just give me a small little role here and there? Like, I'll take anything.
I love that. And it's what I'm doing now is to make people realise you can go up and up and up and not see it as a downward spiral and not take it to heart, all those rejections, and realise you're not alone in that. Everyone is here to ride in the same crazy wave, so you may as well make the best out of it as you can.
Yeah, it's about believing in oneself. I think a lot of it is about betting on you, and I think that's kind of one of the big things that you've done is you've betted on yourself and said, right, maybe if I can't do what I want to do right now, I can at least do something that incorporates that and allows me to kind of meet unique people and tell my story and listen to everyone else's story so we can mesh like our different experiences. The event itself, is it a pay event? Do they have to pay for tickets? Where do they go?
So tickets will be available from our website. So it's theauthenticproject.co.uk/events, or you can find all the information on our Instagram, which is at theauthenticproject_. So all the information's there. I'll be bombarding it with information.
Brilliant.
Tickets are £12.50. They include the whole evening, the whole panel discussion, and also a really exciting goodie bag. And it's just a brilliant time to meet people, network, and just meet fellow creators and talk honestly about how you're really doing. Do you have a Q&A events with anyone so people can ask like questions or anything? Yes, we'll have. So I think the discussion will run for about an hour and then 15 minutes Q&A.
Brilliant.
And usually our speakers stay around for another hour to answer any other questions people may have.
Oh, nice. So make sure you guys check that out. And if you're like me and you are an anxiety-ridden actor out there, get on this event. It's helpful. It does help. And your agent's probably going to tell you to network anyway, so you might as well go and do something that actually means something to you and you can get a lot out of. Consider this your one a month. So do it. Cheap, cheerful, and very informative.
If you didn't have time to take all those social media information down, you can find it on our website, Shoot the Breeze, on Resonance 104.4 FM Facebook page. Or if you log on to hashtag It's All About the Three-Way, yes, you will definitely find it there as well.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do the hashtag, have I?
Well, I managed to slip that one in.
What kind of host am I? Honestly, David.
No problem. That's why I got it in there. Don't worry. Now it's time for our top 5. Welcome back to Shoot the Breeze, Resonance 104.4. Sorry about that.
This is what happens. I come on the show and it's chaos.
Yeah, he's thrown me off. Don't worry.
I'm totally distracted.
We're now back, and it's time for our top 5 today.
Yes.
Top 5 today. What was it again?
It's the top 5 unique jobs in film, but I'm going to cheat and use TV as well. I don't care. Sorry, Marcus.
I'm just using jobs anyway, so I don't care. So, the way it goes is you're sitting in Marcus' seat, so you go last.
Of course.
Our guest always goes first, which means you go first, Caitlin. Unfortunately, that means I go second.
Ooh,
yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
Get ready.
So what we do is we go through, we do our 5 and 4,
okay,
each one, and then goes 3 and 2. And each one, and then around about just before we finish and we play a tune, we reveal our number 1. So if you see me doing that, that means we're running out of time, and stop yakking and move on. But it's more likely going to be me that's doing all the yakking. So anyway, over to you, Caitlin. What's your number 5 and what's your number 4?
Well, I actually found this quite hard, actually, because
you chose it.
I did. And my number 5 would be Dr. Dolittle.
Ooh.
I know.
There's a new one coming out now.
I know there is.
Yes.
Just because, I mean, who wouldn't want to talk to animals? And
I wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
My cats would have a lot to say to me.
They probably wouldn't. They'd walk away.
There's like 7 of them. They'll all probably just say some nasty things to me.
Hang on, which one?
The original, Eddie Murphy. Is that original?
No, that's the second version.
Second original, then. Yeah. That one.
Eddie Murphy one. Okay.
The Eddie Murphy one. And yeah, just because that would be great fun. And my number 4 would be, I think, Wonder Woman. We're going for off-the-wall jobs. I was trying to stay away from lawyers and scientists.
Well, the interesting history behind her, if you go by the comics, was she was a warrior from Themyscira, then became a fashionista when she lost all her powers, and then became a vigilante who was working for a burger place because the Justice League forgot their PIN. So she couldn't log in and get her money.
Well, I'll be in the first bit in the warrior world.
Oh, you could be the fashionista.
So Wonder Woman's the second one. Okay. Not the 80s Wonder Woman from TV, I take it.
Oh, Linda Carter.
Wonder Woman.
Back in the day. Boyhood crush.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. That was from the 80s, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. But this is the film you're talking about.
The film, yes.
All right, okay.
I'm just going to say that, yeah.
Right, okay. Film version. I'm just going to write this down.
His face is not approving.
I must admit, I still haven't actually finished watching the film, so I can't really tell.
Okay.
And
Well, you've got to get it because the second movie's coming out.
Oh, it is, isn't
and,
it?
And you know someone who's going to be in that movie, which I can't say because it violates NDA rules, so I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, I'm saying nothing more either. All right. Oh, it's my turn, isn't it?
Yes.
Sorry. Right. My number 5 is Terminator.
Okay.
What, you'd want to be a Terminator?
Because he terminates people. He kills people.
Well, he has
1984.
specific orders to go and kill Sarah Connor. So you're like the coolest job in the world, but just go and kill Sarah Connor.
He's got a cool job. He just goes out and kills people. But then again, he redeems himself in the next film because he comes back and saves people. So
because he was reprogrammed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Still a job. Someone
true.
had to do it. He
Somebody
doesn't
had
get
to do
paid
it.
though. Does not get paid. Arnie did not get paid for either of those jobs.
What?
This is true. Well, he got paid as an actor, but he didn't get paid like
Yeah.
as a Terminator.
Yeah, as a Terminator. Yeah.
It was
And
it was kind of like a pay for play. You know, you get exposure.
Right.
I'm having fun with this one actually.
Can you kill like Sarah Connor for exposure, please?
Yeah. Anyway, that was my number 5. My number 4 is a theatre director and choreographer.
Ooh.
Joe Gideon, all that jazz.
Ah, yes.
So, I had to slip that one in there somewhere because it's one of my favourite films. And and Bob Fosse, brilliant. I think it's a really excellent film. It came out in 1979 and basically it's just being repeated in large bits in the Fosse Verdon TV show, if you caught that on TV.
Haven't yet.
So, I recommend that, but All That Jazz is a brilliant film anyway.
I shall give that a watch, actually. And also inspiration for jazz hands.
Well, yeah, that's where they came from, Bob Fosse, yeah.
I love jazz hands. My number 5 is Dexter Morgan from the TV show Dexter. He is a blood spatter CSI crime scene personnel person, but he's also a serial killer at night, so he has 2 jobs. So, you could tell he's an inspiration to us all. But he uses his analysis of like crime scenes to figure out where the blood splatter is, who the killer is and stuff, to kind of track down the killers and basically kill them himself. So that's my number 5. My number 4.
It's a cool job.
It is a cool job.
Yeah.
Which
part? The serial killing bit or the...
I think the fact that he uses his experience from one job to go to the other.
Okay.
So he's just like... Plus he kills bad guys. He's never killed like an innocent person, so...
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like Batman.
Kind of, but Batman doesn't kill anybody.
Yeah, but he discards the rules. He doesn't always play by the rules.
No, he likes punching people.
Yeah, and that's where he bends the rules. This guy just.
You know
breaks
what?
the rules.
That's gonna be my number 4. Batman. A rich billionaire who goes out in the streets and punches people.
Which version?
I'm gonna go with the Christian Bale version because I love his voice where he's just like sounds like he needs a strepsil. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? So yeah, we'll go for that Christian Bale Batman because he goes around and starts punching people for no reason because they're criminals. Let me punch you.
Like, slide away now.
Yeah, I'm a rich billionaire that punches people for a living.
You remember when we were upstairs and I was saying about Spider-Man, that cartoon version, and the kids in the cinema?
Yes.
And there was a scene in there where on the TV, on the screen, this version of Spider-Man comes out and he's all in black and little kids go, "Is that Batman, Daddy? Is that Batman, Daddy? Is it Batman, Daddy?" And people will go, "Oh." And all of a sudden the kid goes, "I'm Batman." And everyone just cracked up. Everyone just cracked up. So, Christian Bale has had an influence on the kids as well.
Yeah. No, actually, that's Keaton, if you think about it. Because Keaton was the one who goes, "I'm Batman."
Oh,
yeah. Tell your friends.
Okay. Right. Well, anyway. Caitlin, back to you. What's your number 3 and what's your number 2?
My number 3 would have to be Gandalf the Wizard, Lord of the Rings.
Wait, Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White?
I think Gandalf the Grey is cooler.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like he's, a wizard's never late. It's great.
So, Gandalf the Grey in
Lord of the Rings.
the first one.
Yeah.
Fellowship.
Because, he's a pretty cool guy, wizarding away. And, I mean, he doesn't get paid for it, but I'd say it's his profession. It's his full-time job.
Yeah. Plus, he gets to hang around with little people all day.
And feel really big
Yeah.
and important.
Exactly. He'll feel like Shaq hanging around like normal-sized people.
He's actually only 4 foot tall.
Yeah. Plus, he just wears a robe, so he's just like wearing nothing underneath it. You know, just letting it all hang out.
Yeah,
Wow.
we're heading towards that time, so yeah, we can get away with it.
Okay, what's your next one?
Well, my next one, I was finding it hard to find 5. So I was thinking about one of my favourite films, and it's might be a bit cheeky, but Into the Wild is someone who goes against all jobs, really. He decides to run away from all jobs, Christopher McCandless, and he just runs away from society and burns money and goes to live on his own. And it's a true story. And he dies in his caravan. And it's a brilliant, brilliant film.
Sorry, what was the film about again?
Into the Wild. It's about a man who basically goes on an adventure, meets some amazing people, and decides to say no to all money, all jobs, and tries to make it on his own in the wild. And it's a twist on having a job. Basically saying, I don't want any job.
But that in itself is a job.
There we go.
Yeah.
And it's just a brilliant film. And he is an incredible man, and he was a real man. It's based on a true story.
Oh, it's based on a true story.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent. I've not heard of that one. 2007. Okay. My number 3.
Yes.
Oh, gosh. I'm still trying to decide what it is. In actual fact, no, it is. It is going to be a pirate. The Dread Pirate Roberts from Princess Bride.
Oh, nice.
I really, really, really love that film. And every once in a while, I'll just pull it out, watch it, just so I can watch, just reflect back on earlier days. 1987 it came out, so yeah, I was younger, and I was just like sitting there giggling at some videotape, because that's what it was at the time.
There's an interesting story behind that movie with Andre the Giant.
The Frenchman.
Yes. He basically
now
let
dead.
a huge fart rip on set. And I remember the director looked at him and went, "Are you okay, Andre?" And he goes, and this, mind you, this fart lasted for like nearly 10 minutes.
Well, Andre was a giant, so...
Yeah. And he goes, "You all right, Andre?" And Andre just looked at him and goes, "I'm all right, boss." And everyone just like cracked up. Because he did not give any damns about whatever he did. Which I just find it funny, that story, because he tells that story constantly about Andre.
Oh, gosh. Well, he passed away recently. I didn't realise he was actually French either.
Yeah, he was suffering from gigantism, and the problem is it enlarged his heart to the point where he had a heart attack.
Oh, right, okay.
Wow.
Ooh, nasty.
Not nice.
Yeah. But it was at a time where they couldn't kind of tackle it. Like nowadays, they can. Yeah. So, but he was quite a character.
Yeah, you've got to remember that film has got so many different aspects to it. I mean, or tropes and whatever. There's that famous line, is he nearly dead? No. He's not dead. He's just nearly dead. He's just nearly dead. Just mostly dead, but not dead. And there's that line also, my name is Montoya. You killed my father. Now I'm going to kill you and
Prepare to die.
prepare to die. I keep on getting it wrong, but still.
You got it half right.
Committed to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it anyway. So, my number 2, American Psycho. A New York investment banker by
Patrick
day
Bateman. Yeah.
and serial killer by night. And what can you say? This one came out in the noughties, and it was one of those slasher films which was not a slasher film.
It went more into kind of his insecurities and the ideas behind his character. It was a lot more fleshed out. Like the killing was kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak. You got to see all the nice little subtextual layers, and it's brilliant, beautifully acted by Christian Bale.
Yeah, I still have to watch it all the way through. I've read the book so many times, so I know that story inside and out.
Yeah, the book is a lot more detailed in comparison to the movie.
Yeah, well, it's a lot more gory than the movie. I mean, if you read some of the descriptions that he goes into, it's just like, oh.
Couldn't. I haven't seen it. Crazy. Hands
It actually
up.
has some ties to Back to the Future as well, if you know, because there's a song in it by Huey Lewis and the News called "It's Hip to Be Square," and he goes into kind of detail about the band. So that's the tie between Back to the Future and American Psycho.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
That leads me to my number 3,
Yep,
which
your
is
number
also
3.
Patrick Bateman. I'm going to go on that one as well, just because the fact that I feel like the character is just extremely interesting. He's so insecure, though. It's hilarious because there's a scene where they talk about business cards, and one guy shows his business card and the way it's layered, and he just looks at it and the amount of disdain on his face, like, I'm going to kill you just for the fact your business card is better than mine. Like the egos, the whole world of investment banking. It's really, really is interesting. So my number 2 is Green Lantern, because he's a space cop, and being a space cop is cool, and having a ring where you can make loads of stuff on it.
Yeah.
It'll be brilliant. And they also have like one of the greatest sayings known to man, even though the film was garbage. But yeah, I would love to be a space cop.
Actually, I saw that for the first time around about 2 months ago, and I thought, this is really, really interesting. And it brought back to mind, what was that program? Oh yes, The Big Bang Theory.
Yes.
There's that scene in there, where she mixes him up with Green Arrow. That's it.
Yeah.
And the difference between Green Arrow is that and that.
Yeah.
and I just wet myself, to be quite honest. It was just a really.
And he also has a saying as well, so.
Yes.
The
Darkest Night, blah, blah, blah.
For brightest day, for darkest night, no evil shall escape my sight.
Yes.
For those who hold to evil might, beware my power, Green Lantern light. There you go, the oath.
You've watched that film many a time, haven't you?
No, I actually read the comic book. I'm a huge fan of the comic books.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I could never get into DC
They're
comics.
written by a guy who's currently one of the writers for the DC Extended Universe. So he helped add some of the script work for Joker and some of the script work for like the Titan series and stuff like that. For some reason his name escapes me, but he's an amazing writer, and what he did was he managed to bring the Green Lantern universe back from the brink of destruction that it was on, because it was terrible, and made some relevant and interesting stories. And Hal Jordan was great. Totally miscast though. The film was totally miscast. The story was terrible.
Who starred in that?
Ryan Reynolds. They actually did a little bit in Deadpool 2. There's a
Yes.
little time traveling thing where he shoots himself in the head for accepting the Green Lantern script.
Yes, I saw that one.
That's quite funny.
Yeah.
I love Ryan Reynolds. He's so humorous.
Yeah,
He's a national treasure.
He was in R.I.P.D. as well,
Yeah.
which I actually watched.
Men in
for the
Black
first
with
time.
Spirits.
And I thought that was quite funny, but
It was very, very funny,
But-
despite the fact that you could not. His co-star, what's his name?
I thought it wasn't Christopher Walken.
No,
it wasn't Christopher. It wasn't Chris Christopherson either.
No, he was in Iron Man, and he's a very relevant actor. He's
Jeff
Tron as
Bridges.
well. Jeff Bridges,
Yeah.
yes. Jeff Bridges, you could not clearly hear him in that, because he was just he was playing a cowboy
mumbling.
with a mustache, and most of the times it was like.
Yeah, he was mumbling. But the funny thing was, when he in the day you couldn't show your normal body, you showed someone else's body, and he was a femme fatale.
Yes.
in that.
Really?
Yes, he was. So when he'd be standing there, as you see Jeff Bridges as he was,
Okay.
and then through the character's eyes, they would see a femme fatale. That was just a really funny bit. That was
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it had potential, but for some reason it didn't take off.
yeah.
But I think a lot of it was just the disjointed writing, the chemistry, the actors, and everything else. Ryan Reynolds, as I said, national treasure. Like, he made Blade 3 amazing, just for the fact that he was talking about stuff where, like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he was
I
born
can't
to play-
really say the half of the puns he would say on the show.
He was made to play Deadpool because he's the merc with a mouth, as it.
No,
as
basically, that character is him.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is.
So that's great.
Anyway.
Okay, yes.
Number one.
Number 1. Mine would have to be Viggo Mortensen's character in Captain Fantastic. He is essentially, I'm going to say, a teacher of sorts. And he's brought his family up in the woods, away from all conventional societal ways. And
Sounds like heaven.
I know, it's amazing. And he teaches them the ways of the world, how to grow your own vegetables, how to fight, how to kill things and eat them. And he teaches his kids absolutely everything, and they're the most smart people in the world.
So you had me, apart from like killing things. Like, I'd go for the.
I mean, a deer.
He should be more of the vegan approach, like
Yeah.
Here's some vegetables. Eat as many vegetables as you like. Leave the animals alone.
Pet the animals. It's an incredible film, and it's brilliant.
Imagine combining that with Dr. Dolittle. You'd be hearing animals screaming at you.
You really would.
You would.
Oh God, two together.
Yeah. Just blew your mind. Literally. David.
My number one film is a bog standard, boring waitress. But
I can see you in the heels.
But it's from the film Baghdad Cafe. He put me off there. Baghdad Cafe from 1987.
He is wearing the heels.
It's a brilliant film, directed by Percy Adlon, and starring CCH Pounder and someone else as well. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But absolutely great film. And nothing. It's just an ordinary cafe in the middle of nowhere. And this German woman lands on it and changes everyone's lives. And it was so successful as an indie film, it spawned a series which lasted around about 3 series, I think, but still. Yeah. So it's no Terminators, no blah, blah, blah. Ordinary waitress, because you always get waitresses in films.
This is true.
I just thought I'd use that one.
Mine is going to be a bit of a controversial one.
Yep.
It's from the 1977 film Jesus of Nazareth. I would like to be Jesus. Just because, spreading gospel about stuff. Having people asking you to turn water into wine. Amazing. Get smashed totally all the time. And basically, end up, there is the sucky thing of getting crucified, but boom, back to life again.
Yeah, there we go. A few days later.
And then you get to tell your snitch that he is a snitch. So it's the best thing in the world. I think that would be the character. Oh, also I would have James L. Jones in it. So I get to act with me and James L. Jones. We'll be like buddies, until Judas rats me out.
Okay. Well, that's your number one. And it's almost time for us to be going. So there we go.
Yes.
And what are we going to be doing? What's your plans?
My plans are I'm actually going to be moving to China next week. So I'm going to be taking some job teaching English over there, and also going to be seeing how their film and TV industry is. So we'll see how that goes. That's pretty much it. So Caitlin, what about you? Apart from the event.
Yeah, I'm in major event planning mode, and after that, I'm moving house. It's very exciting.
Well, it's time. We've run out of time, so we're going to be seeing you next week. Marcus will be here, and so will Laura.
And he'll be there to clear up my mess, of course.
So we're looking forward to seeing you next week, and we're going to leave you with the theme tune from Baghdad Cafe. So see you then. See you next week.
Bye.
Someplace better than where you've been. A coffee machine that needs some fixing. In a little cafe just around the bend. I am calling you. Can't you hear me?
Hello, good evening and welcome.
The baby's crying and I can't sleep. But we both know a change is coming. Coming closer, sweet